Let's see. Are we live? Huh. I think so. Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me? Hopefully. Yep. Great. Awesome. Well, hello from El Salvador. Um, this live, okay. This live is a really important live where I'm going to break down um, a lot of the process of what we do here at Living Like a Local and how we help people move to El Salvador. First of all, who am I? Hello, I am Jenny Adi, La Gringa Salvadoreña. I have lived in El Salvador for over 3 years, and uh, let's see, about 3 years ago, well, a little under 3 years ago, my husband and I, started living like a local to help other people come and move to El Salvador, and we've helped dozens and dozens of families. I think we've talked with over at least 100. We probably had, well, definitely over 50 clients. I'd say big time, full time clients, um, close to 30. Um, there's 30 different families that we have helped fully come to El Salvador, done all their immigration paperwork and everything else. I have over 200 plus videos on YouTube about what life is here, what life is like here, and what moving here is like. Therefore, yeah, I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Um, but hello, 3 years ago when I got here, I didn't know anything. In fact, when I drove through, the first time I went through El Salvador was in 2021. And all I knew about El Salvador was that San Salvador was the capital. And that's because I was a seventh grade geography beat champion. Um, so I have, yeah, it has been a grueling test and process of getting authenticating into life and really knowing what you're doing. I drove through El Salvador in 2021 for the first time. That was my first time visiting El Salvador. And then I came back and moved permanently in January of 2022. I'd gone through all of Central America, checking it out, seeing maybe which place uh, I kind of felt God calling me to was my next step. Um, and it was very, very obvious that El Salvador was the place to be. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get into it. First of all, how do I like it? I love it. Now, why El Salvador? Um, I'd say of the clients that we've had a myriad of different clients, everything from Bitcoiners to Canadians to world schoolers. And one of the main reasons of why people are looking at El Salvador is because, well, first of all, sticking in the Western Hemisphere. Some of our clients have been world schoolers and Europeans. And if you're a digital nomad, the biggest downfall to being a digital nomad is time zones and jet lag. So if you've got to work the 8 to 5 Eastern time zone, but you live in Europe, you're working every single night. You have to sit there and like either get up crazy early or stay up crazy late. And in order to keep those office hours that you're on online. And so a lot of world schoolers, if you're over in Asia, I mean, because Asia is very Thailand and Malaysia. I mean, that can be fairly inexpensive, a really cheap place to live, which has its perks. But the visiting family, crossing the Pacific or crossing the pond of the Atlantic and going through that jet lag just to see family and going through the time zone issues, it creates a lot of chaos. And so that's why people are looking more for Western Hemisphere, because then at least you can keep the same time zones. And travel wise, hello, El Salvador is literally, okay, it's a 3 hour flight from Houston, a 2 hour flight from Florida. I mean, you can get here faster from Atlanta than I can go to California. So a lot of people don't realize that it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of easier coming down here than it is moving from East Coast to West Coast, um, because it's not that far away. So, which is another great advantage. Do I feel safe? Super safe, because as opposed to other places in Latin America, as I said before, I drove down. So I was world schooling with my $5 and my five daughters and I, and we drove down. We spent a month in every country, a month in Mexico, a month in Guatemala, a month in Honduras, all the way down to Costa Rica, because everybody always hears about Costa. If you're a gringo, all you hear is about Costa Rica, Costa Rica. And it is gorgeous, but Costa Rica was kind of the California of Central America, is what I call it. California is gorgeous. It is amazing. You cannot see anything better than Monterey Bay, Big Sur, the sequoias. That's Costa Rica. The cloud forest, the rainforest, the biospheres in Costa are amazing. But kind of like California, the priciness one and the corruption, yeah, are just not. It's just not worth it. Like, it doesn't matter how amazing nature is. It's not. Okay. See, there you go, Haiti. You're in California, so you feel me, okay? Like, you can't beat the nature and the weather in California, and that's like Costa Rica. You can't beat. I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing place to visit. But living in California, yeah, the prices, it's insane. And living in Costa Rica is pretty much the same as living in the US, price wise, especially San Jose. Um, or if you're over on the beaches. So, and the corruption is pretty bad, and I did not feel safe. Costa Rica is not necessarily super safe. Um, so, yeah. So, those are two big reasons why El Salvador, when it comes to Central America, which have the same advantages of being, 2, 3 hours from Florida, maybe 3, 4 hours from Texas, from DFW or Houston, is that El Salvador, one, is super safe, safer than the US, even safest place in all of the Western Hemisphere. And number two, you won't get robbed. You won't get robbed or scammed, which is not the same in Mexico, Panama. In fact, I've helped people come down from Mexico, expats that were in Mexico that just had a really bad taste in their mouth from either extortion or from just the crime and the organized crime hitting a little too close to home, and they've come down here. I've helped people, a lot of right now, a lot of Panamanians, a lot of expats. Panama is a pretty big expat bubble. A lot of expats in Panama are just like, we're done. Yeah, especially with the things that are going on right now with the Panama Canal. A lot of Panamanians have said, like, no, Panama is not. There isn't the trust. The Panamanians treat foreigners very differently than they treat you here. Foreigners here you're treated like royalty, honestly. Salvadoreños, they don't trust each other for nothing, because they've got 40 years of killing each other and extorting each other and not being very kind and taking care of each other. And so foreigners have they kind of prefer to work with a foreigner than they work with their own countrymen, because of past trauma. We all go through it. um so yeah, so that's another big reason why everybody's flocking to El Salvador. um let's go. Yeah, even and now I've got some Costa Rica, some expats that live in Costa Rica that are coming back up here again for the safety factor, and for the cost. um let's see. But the biggest thing of all, because I mean, there's really nice Latinos. I love Latino culture about family and getting together and parties, and just you work to live, you don't live to work. um, but overall, it's so wonderful. The people. The people are the deciding factor. The people, the whole community, the whole country is going through such a transformation of hope, of massive, just everybody is very kind and friendly, and everybody is filled with hope for the future. And that is so different from the US, especially Canada. In 2023, we had a ton of Canadians come on down. Um, and yeah, the people are just so awesome, and they're creating, and they're just so filled with hope. It's I guess if you could say, it's very high vibe here, to kind of use a new generational term. It's very high vibe here. um, let's see. Haiti says, yes, California's too expensive. Gas just went up to 6.50 per gallon. I'm Salvadoran and I'm thinking of moving back to my country. Okay, great. Well, then here you go. Here you go, Haiti. I'll give you all that I can. So you already know how awesome the people are. But the big difference is with El Salvador, if you're coming down here, of course, why El Salvador and not maybe Panama, Mexico, or even moving someplace in the US? Maybe you're in New York or California and you're like, well, everybody else is moving to Texas or Florida. Maybe I should just go to Texas or Florida. The big difference is the American dream is all about, okay, if I work hard, if I apply myself, if I get the skills, if I get it done, I can live the way I want to live. That's the big American dream that has worked for so many people in the past. But the Salvadoran dream is a little different. It's not all about me. The Salvadoran dream is about, I'm here. It's about raising the whole. It's like we're all little boats on this. We're all little boats in this lake, and if you clean out your boat and you make your boat better and you work really hard and you get those skills and you try and become the best person and make the best boat you can have, and you bail out all the water, the boats around you are automatically going to rise higher too. And of course, your boat's going to rise the most because you got all this water out of your boat, right? But they're going to rise higher because you put more water outside for them to sit on too. And that's more the Salvadoran dream, is all for one and one for all. Please, if you are thinking in a mindset, a little bit of colonialist mindset of, oh, I'm going to come down there, I'm going to make so much money, I'm going to get so rich, and I'm going to make bank off El Salvador, you might want to think twice. I have seen some expats that have come down there, and some that have actually done that and have that attitude, and they don't last long, because, yeah, Salvadorans aren't having it. Colonization days are done. So if you're coming down here, come down here because it's not just about you. This is about creating a paradise for everybody, not just creating the paradise for you to sit there and sip your mai tais and have the locals serve you. No, this is about creating a paradise for everybody, treating locals with respect, with dignity. It's about new business models. A lot of the new business models aren't. It's about incorporating some of those things that make America great, like the benefits that you have in working. If you work for a certain company, sometimes you get stock or you're part owners of that company. So there's a lot of like new creative business structures. For example, our company, we're working on, since you can't really do 401ks down here, we're doing vested Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is one thing that we can do with our employees that help our employees, that can be kind of like a retirement plan, something for in the future, because it's always sticky with paying more than what somebody can get the same job for somewhere else. But at the same time, you want to make sure they have a way of progressing. You want to make sure that they have a way of um, of living their dream too, and they will have so much loyalty. Salvadoreños are very loyal. very loyal when they are treated with dignity and respect, and as an equal, and not as someone that's lower than you. And yeah, I can think of, I could call up employees and say, "Hey, there's a little crisis. Can you give up, your Sunday to help me out with this crisis?" And it wouldn't be like a what? No, my employees would be like, "Oh, we got to do what we got to do," and it's not seen as a, "Oh, well, you're breaking our boundaries, you're breaking our laws." No, it's very much an all for one, one for all. But they get compensated too for their extreme loyalty too. So that's a little bit about how El Salvador is rising, and just the vibe and the attitude here. That's amazing. Okay, so but this video is titled "How to Move to El Salvador." So once you know yes or no if El Salvador is for you, that's the first step, is knowing for sure and doing your due diligence. In fact, we created relocation tours that, if you don't know, if you're like, well, I visited a few times, I really like El Salvador, I hear all these good things, but visiting is not the same as living. So we created these relocation tours that will kind of hit you with the biggest cultural shocks we have clients in the past that have finally said, you know what, I came here, but it wasn't what I thought it was, and they left. And we created these relocation tours in order to prevent that, in order to help you do your due diligence about what it's really like to live here and to hit those cultural shocks. And we do the tours in order for you to have 90% certainty of yes or no to El Salvador for your future in a week. Because normally it'd be nice if everybody could move down for a couple of months and feel things out. But a lot of people, most people, don't have that kind of freedom to, take off for 3 months to try something out. So we created these relocation tours to kind of get that yes or no certainty on the way. And the tour is all inclusive. It includes everything. It's just one price. You go to the airport, you get here on the airport. We take care of all the rest. Um, and give you truly a little bit of a transformational experience while you're seeing what life is like here in El Salvador. Now, after you have the tour, or after you have that certainty of like, yes, this is where I feel this is my next step, this is where I want to go next, then it's all about getting legal. If if we've learned anything across the world, is that the the world in general is kind of zeroing in on transparency, on legality, and on responsibility and ownership. And so next it's about getting legal. And for that, you need to know some things about El Salvador and how the laws work here, because is it's not a common law country. Okay, so the laws don't work here like they work in Canada and in the US. The laws are based on common law up there. Down here, it's like based on Spanish law. And so things are a little bit different. For example, lawyers here, lawyers are a dime a dozen here. There are lawyers all over the place. You can find a guy selling gum in the street that technically is a lawyer, because lawyers are only a 4-year degree. It's only like a 4 or 5 year degree. It's like a bachelor's here. Whereas, up north, you've got to get your bachelor's, and then you have to go to law school, and then you have to pass the bar. It's not, no, it's not that rigorous. So, so you can, so sometimes, like, people will come up to us and say, well, why are your law services so expensive? And it's just like, because this guy says he's a lawyer, and he'll just do it for like $400. And you have to be very careful, because in El Salvador, you get what you pay for. If you're paying really cheap, you're going to be getting really cheap. And that goes with furniture, with services, with anything. Hello. Yeah. China, there's a lot of Chinese imports that are just crap. And you bring it home, and it's like, oh, look, I got this chair for only, $10, and the chair is going to last you like 2 days, and that's it. But if you're paying really high, then it's probably a scam. It's probably so it's best to kind of go right in the middle. Um, and it's also best to know to build a good relationship of trust. Um, why? Because as I said, things are different here. The laws are different here. There's a lot of bureaucracy. Um, and you have to know how the bureaucracy works, because if you don't know how the bureaucracy works, you're going to come up and say, well, this doesn't make sense. I filled out this paper. There's just this one thing that's not right. Let me just tweak that one thing and then we can go. But if the bureaucracy says, this is how it has to be done, and it's not done here, and it's not done right now, no, there's no redress when you're dealing with bureaucracy. Ugh, the sun moved on me, and now I'm blind. Okay, I'm gonna change this a little bit. So, um, so you need to know that some things aren't as they seem. For example, on that same note with the lawyers, is notaries. A notary in the States, hello, you go to your bank, right? And it doesn't cost anything. That's not like it is here. If you go to a notary here in El Salvador, the notary, you have to pay for that notary, and that notary is not cheap, because a notary here in El Salvador, you already have a lawyer. They already have to be a lawyer, and then after the lawyer, they have to go through additional stuff to become a notary. Okay, so that's why it's like, no, there's no free notaries. And some people are like, well, why is this notarization so expensive? It's like, well, you have to go to a special person that has had additional training to get that notarization stamp. That's why. Um, so yeah, just things are different. And that is also why the other big thing of, if you talk to people, and I've done lots of different podcasts with different people that are like, oh, moving to Colombia, moving to Cali, moving to Medellin, or moving to Panama. When it comes to moving to Latin America, it's really about not getting scammed, because there's lots of scams. And why is there a lot of scams? Because we don't have the tort law down here that you have up north. So if somebody robs you or scams you, there's no lemon laws. You can't take them to court and be like, I sue you, I will sue you. You robbed me, you said you did this and you didn't do this, I'm going to go sue you. It's very rare that you can win in a case like that down here, because down here it's kind of buyer beware. It's your responsibility to do your due diligence. It's your responsibility to make sure you work with people that are trustworthy and reliable. And if you don't, well, that's on you, honey. And that's kind of the reason why we started a new concierge service. And our concierge services, it cuts through, it gives you reliable vetted sources that we've vetted over the last 3 years of helping over 50 families, 50 people come and move into El Salvador. And we take you what would be like a year of bumps and bruises, and finding somebody that can do this, finding a builder that can fix this cabinet, finding auto mechanic that's not going to give you the gringo tax or the gringo price on fixing your car, because gringo tax is very common here. Once they see that you are white or different from them, you may get charged more. And so anyway, so in order to navigate that, we started doing a concierge service that helps, well, we take you through the whole process, and it starts way before you even get here. We start before you even get here, at least 2 months, possibly even 3 months before your move down date. Is we start working with, okay, do you have all the legal paperwork that you will need, so you don't have to go back and do any extra, go back home and do any extra stuff. And then it's about finding, if you're going to build, we help you find the land, make sure the land is free and clear, that there's no liens against it, that it actually has water rights, that it actually has electricity rights. Um, we can we have builders that will build to kind of gringo standards, because building down here, technically anybody can build anything. Okay, people go out and slap together some concrete bricks. They will slap together some um, sorry, can you guys hear that? There's a big truck going by, so I can't hear myself, but maybe this microphone is working. You can hear me anyway. So um, building here, if you want like everything to be square and fit just right, and things to be airtight, and you want like cabinets and in all your, your bathrooms and all your kitchens and things like that, it's you've got to get a builder you can trust. And construction is booming, so you've got to get somebody. You can't go cheap on building down here. That's, oh, whether you use our services and you use the builders that we have vetted or not, honey, don't go cheap on your construction down here, because it will come back to bite you in the bum. This is earthquake country. This is monsoon season, wet season of rains. Yeah, get a good builder that you can trust. Because that's key. And El Salvador building standards are not the same as up north. Again, because you don't have that tort law, you can't sue somebody for doing a bad job. You've got to try and call them back until they do it right. And, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But that's kind of like construction anywhere. Um, so, if you could think for a minute, what would be your best case scenario in moving to El Salvador? Okay. Um, if you could think, like, wouldn't it be awesome if you had a sister or a brother that already lived here, and that you could call them up? They could help you find a place to rent before you even get here. When you got here, they could go out and like say, hey, you're thinking about that buying this car, let's run it by my auto mechanic and make sure it's not a lemon. And when you needed a doctor, you could call up that sister and say, hey, who do you go for this thing? Or my son needs to go to this. Or you have kids and you'd be like, well, where are my nieces and nephews going to school? Where's a good school? That is how I created the concierge service, because we had so many people coming down saying, well, how, like, I need help. I don't know anything about this country. Even people that speak Spanish, even diaspora that have lived in the States all their life, they think, oh, well, this is no different from, moving from California to DC. No, honey, it is way different from moving from California to DC, because you don't know the cultures and you got to know the people. That's why I created this big education algorithm where we put in your top priorities and we figure out the neighborhoods and the schools that are going to be a best match for your children and your priorities, because the educational options here are wide and vast. Everything under the sun, honey, all the way from segregated boys only, girls only, super strict schools to it's like to completely alternative schools where they don't do grades and they don't take tests, and everything in between, and it's not free. And so you have to factor that in. And then traffic, the one complaint I have and everyone has about El Salvador is the traffic is insane. um, and so really, that's why when our clients come in, that's the very first thing we talk with them through is, okay, hold on. Before you sit there and say, well, I want to live in this big, beautiful beach house, and it's going to be like this, and it's going to have this and this and be so gorgeous and beautiful. It's like, okay, wait, you have kids? Okay, unless you want to live in traffic for 4 hours a day, we might need to reconsider the beach house option, or we might need to find you a driver for your kids to be taken up to school that drives up and down every day, or some other option, because there's cultural things that sometimes you just don't understand. And you don't know until you get here. And if you've already signed a contract, then it's too late, especially if you've already signed a school contract. Because here you have to pay your registration, your matricula, that can be 1,000 plus, and then you're paying anywhere, from $300 to $700 a month. And when you're locked into that contract, I mean, you like, and it's really sad. It's really sad with some families that they just don't realize how much life is going to revolve around the school. And if they don't live close to it, um, you're gonna you're gonna you're gonna lose a lot of money either way. And that's just it. Moving to a foreign country, it's expensive, but can be so worth it. And there are so many awesome opportunities that are opening up here in El Salvador. Um, that is a lot cheaper than being in the States. But not just that, but just the culture and just everything, being part of this transformation. It's amazing. But do it with help. Get a good lawyer. You can come with us and use our lawyers. I highly recommend them, especially the main lawyer, because he's my husband. And I know on the up and up, he's an amazing guy and very trustworthy. But get a good lawyer, because you are going to need that down here, to make sure you can navigate well big purchases, you can navigate well the culture, and you can authenticate, is what I call it. It's like authentically integrate into helping El Salvador be the paradise, creating a paradise that's not just a paradise for you, but a paradise for everyone. Um, yeah, and that is it. Let's see. Oh, Haiti has some things to say. Let me read over some of these things. Why not Mexico? Because I'm like a head on my shoulders and not on a broomstick. Sorry, Elmo, I don't quite understand that. The people that have moved down from Mexico, they said they didn't like the scamming, and they didn't like Mexicans kind of always trying to get money off of them, um, always trying to like sell them something. The people that have come down from Mexico, that's been their main thing, is they like the transparency that is really prevalent in El Salvador. Yes, we are very loyal. What type of work do I do? Well, now you know what kind of work I do. I do hosting and tours and help people authentically integrate into the culture here. Looking forward to seeing you. Hi, Rita. So good to see you. Um, I was just there. It is hot. It is hot down on the beach. But hello, we can take you up to, but it is not hot at all. If you know where to go, you can get some great places where you don't even have to have an AC. I've never been more excited to move somewhere. I'm so thankful you're doing these information. Thanks, Matthew. Hey, if D Matthew, if there's anything we can do for you, make sure you look us up. Whee! Look us up at livinglikealocal.com. I was at Surf City number 2. It's super gorgeous. Yeah, and that's Surf City number 2 is really untouched. It's really raw. That'd be a great place to invest, Haiti. A notary has to be a lawyer. Okay, not all lawyers are notaries, but a notary is a lawyer. Yes. You can hear us. Okay, that's back from the truck. You're absolutely correct. It's important to get a good construction company. Yep. Bad traffic is only in El Salvador. Yep. Okay. And I think, okay. Oh, that's it. That's all the questions and comments. If you are looking at El Salvador, could possibly be a piece in your future, jump down to the website and we can help you figure out, first of all, yes or no, and then 2, how to make your transition as smooth as possible, and take that year of moving transition and getting used to things and where to shop and where to get things shipped to you and all that stuff. We can condense that down into 3 months of holding your hand literally every day. You get a personal assistant to help you go through and do anything that you need to do so you can get into your new Salvadoran normal when you come down here. Because moving here is awesome, but you need to be prepared, just like everything else in life, or else you will learn the hard way. Just saying. I'm Jenny Addy, shining my light so you can shine yours. And I will see you guys next week when we're going to talk about all the changes that President Trump and President Bukele are putting together tomorrow. Because if you don't know, we are kind of the US's favorite little brother. So I am not going to be surprised that if he doesn't come out of this looking very, very good. That's it. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye. Um, oh, wait, the website is down in the description. It's livinlikealocal.com. No G. There's no G. Livin. Or the name of the channel. So just look down at the channel. It's the name of the channel. And that's where you can find us. We'll see you soon, Haiti.